And that's what my grandpa used to say to us when we were young in high school. He said, if people are in a bad mood or they're bad people in that spirit, he said, leave them alone. Don't go there.
Yeah.
And I do believe in that.
That was Randy Burns. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. Welcome to episode 19, part 2. In part 1, Randy talked about moving to San Francisco and founding Gay American Indians, the only group of its kind in the country in the mid-70s. We left off with Randy describing what it was like when AIDS hit the group. In this podcast, Randy will talk about going to Washington, D.C. to march for LGBT visibility and rights, and to bring awareness to the AIDS epidemic. He'll talk about going to Stonewall in New York City, and then he'll tell us about his trip back to San Francisco. Here's Randy.
So after that, and we went to all the marches in Washington back in the 80s.
Still during Reagan? Or
Yes.
Reagan and Bush? Or
Reagan and, well, I think it was President Reagan, and then the old man Bush.
Yes.
And that time
Happy.
period in 87 or 89, the March in Washington. And we worked with the National Organizing Committee for Civil Rights for LGBT people. And how we did it, how I did it, I could say, or I don't know who, but they were giving us stipends to each city to get, because we've always said you're on Indian land.
Right.
Barbara always said, remember, the queer people are walking on Indian people that murder and they theft our land. She was more political and forthright in her writings. Years later, I found out. I couldn't believe what she was writing about the queer community, including the women of color, about their outreach. They always had an agenda. It was already planned. So I worked behind the scenes to get all the national organizing board people that were on the national marches. I made sure that because of how we felt as queer Indian people at the time, saying we this is our land, you got to honor us. So they gave us all their travel stipends for to get us to the marches on Washington. And how we did it once we got there was, again, providing housing in motel rooms. So the first year, second year march, I remember putting up like 9-10 of us in a little place in Chinatown. Mm-hmm. And so during the AIDS epidemic, the quilt was displayed on the National Mall to remind our government that we are dying. And we had a morning rally, the first march on March in Washington. We had an AM rally before the national march, and we were asked to do the blessing and to speak on behalf of not only Gay American Indians, but all the people that the National Planning Committee, the March in Washington National Committee, gave us those stipends. So we were there on stage, and there was, after we got off the stage, then we began, because the march started at 11. We were there at 10. Mm-hmm. It was called Eclipse, right behind the White House. And the Afro-American and the Latino community, of course, outnumber us. They were fighting about who should lead the people of color contingent, right, the minority or the third world contingent. And I heard them arguing, and they said, where are we going to be? Where are we going to lead? What's going on? I didn't know that at the time. And I said, come on, boys and girls, let's go up there and talk to these bitches.
All do it together.
We're here for a cause. We're here for our civil rights. So we have to remind them that when they're walking on Indian land. So again, a miracle happened. I went up there and with my warriors, sisters and brothers behind me, and I said, excuse me, please remember whose land you're walking on.
Love it.
It's only appropriate, don't you think, you two fighting communities, that you should honor the American Indian gays and lesbian with our banner. That morning before the Eclipse rally, we had a sunrise ceremony far away from right behind the Lincoln Memorial, far away. We did that at 5 in the morning before the sun came up. And then we also did another ceremony after our rally with our parents and with our allies. We had another kind of like a talking circle. So when we went up there and told the Latino and the Afro-American community, whose land are you walking on, they said, of course, you guys.
Yeah.
So they let us let it. And that October was so hot, was what we call Indian summer.
Yes,
and
it can get hot in
hotter
Washington, D.C.
back in D.C. Humidity,
Yeah.
and all that. And we had the whole organizer plan. 1 minute of silence, lay down on the ground, and pretend you're dead. And that day, like many of us, were in our shorts.
Yeah.
Our hot pants, you could say, in the 80s. And so we're like all fouled. Pretend you're dead. Everyone on that line on Pennsylvania and all went down. It was all so coordinating, so beautiful. And we all went down.
I think almost peaceful.
Yes, nonviolent.
Yeah.
We all lay down there. Said, Brandella, when are we going to get up? My legs are burning. I said, bitch, that's your problem. We're all talking and laughing, carrying our little signs, but we marched behind our Gay American Indian banner. And I was so proud. And that same year was the year that the government, the Supreme Court ruled against Hardwick versus Georgia, I believe, case, and went before the Supreme Court. So there was civil disobedience. The march happened on Sunday. 2 days later, we had that organized rally at the front of the Supreme Court Supreme Court.
The building.
Building, yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that ruling?
It was Hardwick versus Georgia.
But what was it?
It was about sodomy.
Oh, out of Texas.
No,
if I'm not.
it was Georgia. I think it was Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway. I was there, and those who stayed behind, and we decided that we had to be there, and they said, we're going to stay, and our ticket's going to run out. So again, we all stayed in one room, and the house, we brought one brother, his name was Herbie, he was Oto and Navajo, and he went there with his doctor's approval. He knew he was sick, and so my friend from Idaho, Clyde Hall, had doctored him Indian way in the room. And he said, you guys go to the march. We'll be there in spirit. So he stayed with Herbie. And so we went there to the Supreme Court building, federal building, the site. And we went there. And what I loved about that organized march against that Supreme Court ruling was to see so many doctors and nurses, to see the women's contingent.
Yeah.
And it was so organized, and they had organized it so, like the theme, remember that song growing up, Red Rover, Red Rover?
Sure.
And they said, Red Rover, send the doctors on over. All the doctors went right up into the steps of City Hall. Red Rover, send the nurses on over. And then they would say, Red Rover, send all the dykes on over. And it was a roar.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they had to start arresting them. So they had these buses. And as they pulled away, all the people that weren't part of the protest in front of the Supreme Court building, they started with their plaques, started hitting the bus and pushing the bus, and the bus was moving and moving, and I was there pounding, and all the queens inside were blowing their whistles, and it was beautiful.
Sure.
It was so orchestrated. That was my memory, the quilt and the Supreme Court protests, and so, and then in 93, I think, March on Washington, we were there again. There was another march in between, I think. In 93 we were there, and that's when Martina Navratilova came out, the famous tennis star.
Yes.
And she made a comment about how can we be proud if we are going to hide in our closet. And paraphrasing. And basically she said, if you want the world and America to see you, then you must come out. And she ended it with saying, clothes are for closet. So just be proud of who you are. And everyone screamed.
Oh, she was huge. She was enormous.
She was. When she came out, it was miraculous. But the day of that 93 march, and she was quoted, and I had organized with the support of our Gamer Handing Club Active still, and we organized a townhouse meeting in Washington, D.C. at a church social hall. And after we had our Indian bologna and sandwich, bologna and cheese.
Yeah.
What's that? Cheese?
Kraft singles?
No, it was Kraft. It was Velveeta.
Velveeta singles.
And I said, no mayo, so you guys got to lose weight for you big girls and boys. We had chips, and I don't know where all this food came from. Yeah. And people said, how did you do it?
Yeah.
I said, it's a miracle. It's believing in something. Like I say, I've been blessed as an individual, but I thank the membership of the organization because it brought me here, and I'm proud to say that is the memory I have of those marches. And then leading into the very first march on Washington, it was a deal to all the airlines had a 99 ticket to JFK or LaGuardia.
Okay.
So from San Francisco nonstop, that plane was flat.
I'm sure.
This is the first march. 93 it was. Yeah, one of the marches. But anyway, we were all coming in to JFK or LaGuardia. We all ended up on the Amtrak. And it was so beautiful to see. So many. It was so packed. They packed us in. And then we got in there, and all the lesbian song came on. And here they come, the rolling dikes. When you know that song.
Oh, yes, sure.
Well, when the song come marching in.
Yes, when the saints go marching in. When the dykes go marching in.
And when the queers come marching in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And when the doctors come marching. I mean, like, we were just rocking the Amtrak. And we got out there hollering. We didn't even sleep. When we got there in New York City, of course, Greenwich Village. When we got back on Amtrak to get back to JFK or LaGuardia, they were just that Stonewall was packed full of queer people.
Oh, I'm sure.
And could barely get into Stonewall Inn at the time. And so at that march in 87, my money was getting low. I had enough to get on the plane, but they said it could take 4 or 5 days. So I went to Brooklyn, to the Greenwich Village, and these gay guys, we were dancing 2, 3. The bars were open till 4 o'clock.
Yes, they
were.
And
they said, where are you from? I said, San Francisco, with my long black hair.
Yeah.
My BIA glass and
how
looking
long?
all pretty.
Sorry, Randy. How long was your hair?
Down to my butt.
Down to your butt. Okay.
Near my belt.
Was it in a tail? Like
no. I just kind of flashed it.
Wow.
It was real, and it was black before. Now it's gray.
Wow.
And so anyway, they said, we're going to Philadelphia. I said, like, shit, where is Philadelphia? But we're all partying. We have room in the car. We'll get you on a good turnpike. What's a turnpike?
Yeah.
Freeway, of course.
We don't have those out here.
So they took me to a good on-ramp, and so I got a ride from, and I checked into Greyhound. My limit's getting low, and Greyhound, that was packed. And they said, well, again, maybe 1 or 2 waiting day lists. And I said, oh, shit. Well, when they mentioned this, because I looked into the air, and I looked into Gayhound, the money getting low and all that. They said, what take you to get on Turnpike? So I hitchhiked across America, and I beat Gayhound back
Oh my
to
God.
San Francisco.
Wow.
Left with a little under 100, was about $99.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back rich.
You came back with more money?
Money.
And you got here before Gayhound.
Yeah. And I was young and thin and trim. And
If
and
that's not a coming to San
I
Francisco
got a ride
story,
from
I don't
out
know
of
what is.
Pennsylvania in the dark, and I ended up in Ohio. I don't know. And then my last ride was with this very closeted, very nice professional man who lived in Chicago. So we stayed in his condo. He got me on a subway into Chicago. And then I got a bus.
Bus from Chicago.
From Chicago to Iowa, something like that.
Oh, okay.
And somewhere along the line, I got some smoochies and and Gayhound, and so I hitchhiked. And then the banner we made was handmade. Like when you're in grade school, it's that black, and it was painted black on yellow or something.
It wasn't with shoe polish, was it?
Well, it wasn't shoe polish, but it was that thing that kids use to make their handprints.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't
Finger
acrylic.
paint.
Finger paint. That's what it was. So we made that. That was our first March on Washington, actually.
Wow.
And so I said, "Oh, Cole, I'm freezing out there in the cornfield somewhere." And I said, "I'm gonna take that banner and wrap it around me." Little did I know, it smeared on my Levi Wrangler pant. So this truck driver picked me up out of somewhere out of Denver. 3 days, I got 3 rides across that far out of Denver, and he said, "Well, I'm going to Denver. I'll put you on a good on-ramp." And then we got talking. He said, "If you want," they all said, "if truck driver and that closet gay guy out of Chicago," they said, "Do you know that you're dirty?"
They might have thought you were a mechanic.
I don't know, but they gave me money. Oh. Here's money for my trip. So the 2 truck drivers gave me $20, and that closet gay guy out of Chicago, rich guy, gave me money.
Wow.
So I came back with a little under $50, left New York with my $99, came back rich. And then they said, okay, I got to Salt Lake, Utah. I thought I was home, Nevada. Cool, I know I-80. And so I got as far as Salt Lake City. A guy got me out of Denver. That's where he was going, Salt Lake City, got me on a good on-ramp. And I got a ride. It was getting late in the afternoon, and I got a ride out of there to Nevada. And then I got to Nevada. It was Nevada Day. That's what it was, October 31st. That time period, the Nevada State holiday on my reservation.
It's Nevada Day. I'm sorry,
October.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
Well, they call it Nevada Day, and I know they have a big rodeo on my res. Okay. So I got a ride out of Utah with these cowboys going to my reservation for the tribal rodeo.
Nice.
And they were drunk and partied. There were two trailers, pickup trucks, and I got in the back, and this older gay guy was molested by him. Oh, God. And he was married gay guy, a straight guy, Indian guy. And he molested me, and I didn't care. And I was sobering up watching these cowboy Indians going down I-80, going to my tribal reservation. And I was being molested, and they want more beer. I said, hell yeah. So I just tuned him out. So they had to stop in the hoe houses along the way.
Sure.
So we had to stop there and guzzle in the bar more and whatever. They were treating me. And he said, "You have enough money?" And I said, "Not really." And he gave me more money. So I came back more richer than
You started with 99.
99.
How much did you arrive back in San Francisco? Or
yeah.
With 100, you doubled, 50%.
So they were going,
wow.
Yeah, and then they let me off.
All you had to do was get molested. That's all you had to do.
I did. Got kisses out of Iowa. Got molested there with a cowboy married man. And so anyway, I got to my reservation. They said, "You want to go out to Pyramid Lake? Maybe someone will take you into Reno." I said, "No, I'll hitchhike." And guess who picked me up? my auntie and her late husband. He's gone. And they said, "Oh, Randy, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going back home." And they had heard of the march in Washington, national news. So I said, "I'm going back home." They said, "Randy, your clothes are all dirty. Are you okay? Look, you're tired." I said, "I want to get back home to San Francisco." And they said, "You want me to get you on a good on-ramp? You hitchhike. You lived here.
Yeah.
You were a student at UNR. You know where to go. We'll drop you off there. Are you hungry? You want to eat?" I said, "No, just take me to that on-ramp." So I had by that time 2 days on the 2 days on the road, 3 days actually take from New York here.
That's fast.
To Reno, to San Francisco. I was tired. My hair was just kind of feeling oily and nasty.
Sure.
And put my hair up, and then when I got in Reno, I let my hair flow, and the truck driver said, "Young man," he didn't know if I was a woman or he said, "You want to get in, honey?" And I said, "Sure." So I got a ride from out of Reno with this big old truck driver. He said, "Well, I'm going as far as Berkeley, Oakland. I'll get you on a good ramp." I said,
Close
"Fine."
enough.
University Avenue I got on, and then I got a ride into San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I beat the Gayhound back. But back to my friend Herbie, he was so sick. And
Herbie's from out here.
Oto, Navajo. He came out here as a professional hairstylist.
Okay, but you knew him in San Francisco.
Yeah, but he was a member of the club.
Okay.
And
the Gay American.
89 March, and he was so sick we had to take him out to, now it's called Reagan International Airport, and we took him out there. He was so weak, but all the lesbian who were going to San Francisco who knew of Gay American Indians, so we'll take care of brother. So we called ahead and said the arrival time, and they picked him up. And at least he went there, and a week later he died. And back then, I gotta say about gay men in particular, we all became caregivers to those who were diagnosed with ARC AIDS, and they worked to the very end of their death. Always charitable, always sharing what they earned with Gay American Indians.
You did this?
No, they did.
Oh, they
did.
Right.
And it was from the bottom of their heart.
Yeah.
So my mom said to me when I was at the late 80s, I was making the AIDS leadership circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "My son, you go and you are representing the group you started, and many of my hairdressers are dying. They trust you. They allow you to come into the house to care for them. You're going there to learn and to listen." Mm-hmm. And she told me, because when you walk in a room, when you're going to all these AIDS conferences in the West Coast, you're going there, you're taking care of people who are eventually going to die, because back then there was no cure.
Right.
And she said, but they go there, you go there to learn to listen, because remember, somebody in that conference of Indians, caregivers, allies, tribal people, may have more power, Indian power, than you will ever have,
right,
and might make you sick because you are traveling with death, Indian way. And I'll always remember that when
Your mother told you
Yes,
this?
yes, of those who were dying of the virus in our membership. And after 56, I stopped counting. And but I did. We did.
But
memorial
56. How did you get to? I mean,
of our membership.
I can't even. I can't imagine 2.
Yeah. Well, I was there. I personally was. When I was young, growing up, we were told not to do public prayer.
Right.
It's private.
Right.
And that we don't share. We don't go into anybody's sweat house, which is becoming intertribal. Oh, come to the sweat. It's like, come to Disneyland. No, I take my prayer very serious.
Right.
Based on my grandpa and my mom, who was a healer. My grandpa was a healer. She said, you don't go into anybody else's circle. If you're going to do prayer, you come home with us and do the prayer.
Right.
Well, when you do it daily, do it for yourself, for family, and for the people you serve.
If you want to stay up to date, please follow Storied San Francisco on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Every episode is on our website, storiedsf.com. You can subscribe to the podcast on Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Please let us know how we're doing, or if you have a storyteller in mind for us. Our email is storiedsf@gmail.com. Music for the podcast is by Joe Bigale. Thanks for listening. Check back next week and we'll hear from Lexington Club founder Sunny Hare.